Welcome back to the absolute dumpster fire that is 1915. So, the whole "we will be home by Christmas" thing? Yeah, that was a massive lie. Everyone is now stuck in giant muddy ditches stretching from Switzerland to the sea, staring at each other across no man's land. Just staring. For months. Awkward. Very awkward. The generals are scratching their heads because running in a straight line toward machine guns surprisingly isn't working out so well. They need a game changer. They need some shiny new toys. And the British engineers get to work and introduce a terrifying metal beast to the battlefield. They call it the tank. It looks like a giant, heavily armored metal box of doom. It is supposed to roll right over the trenches and crush the enemy's spirit. But there is a slight problem. It has the top speed of a mildly depressed turtle. We are talking less than 4 miles per hour. And that is on a good day, going downhill with a tailwind. Plus, they break down a lot. So, you have this supposedly terrifying machine, and the British soldiers are literally power walking past it, while the crew inside is getting baked alive by the engine heat. Therefore, the Grand Tank debut is less Terminator and more broken down Honda Civic on the highway. Meanwhile, the Germans decide to get creative with chemistry. They unleash poison gas. It sounds like the ultimate supervillain move, right? Just open some canisters and let the toxic cloud do the work. And it is absolutely horrifying. But the German meteorology department clearly took the day off. Because when you release a giant cloud of gas, you kinda need the wind to blow toward the enemy. They open the valves. The wind immediately changes direction and blows it right back into their own trenches. A spectacular, coughing, wheezing self-own. So, the Western Front is just a high-tech stalemate of exploding mud and terrible weather forecasts. Since the West is a complete dead end, a certain British politician named Winston Churchill looks at a map and says, "Hey, what if we just go around?" He points his finger at the Ottoman Empire, drawing a brilliant, elegant little curve right through the Dardanelles Strait. He figures, we just sail our boats up there, knock the Ottomans out of the war, and link up with our buddies in Russia. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. And the plan sounds absolutely flawless in a cozy London office while sipping Earl Grey tea. But Churchill's elegant curve on the map translates in real life to climbing up near vertical cliffs while being relentlessly shot at by very angry, very well dug in Ottoman soldiers led by a guy named Mustafa Kemal, who is absolutely not having any of it. Therefore, the British, French, and a whole lot of very confused Australians and New Zealanders, known as the Anzacs, find themselves pinned down on tiny beaches. They are stuck in the scorching heat, surrounded by swarms of flies, getting dysentery, and making zero progress. It is Gallipoli, a total disaster. Churchill gets fired from his fancy job and has to go actually fight in the trenches for a bit to think about what he has done. So, the West is stuck. The Middle East is stuck. Let us look at the East. How is the Russian Empire doing? Oh boy, it is bad. Like, really, really bad. And the Russian army is huge. We are talking millions of men. They call it the Russian steamroller. But there is a tiny logistical hiccup. They forgot to bring enough guns. Imagine sending 2 guys into battle with 1 rifle and telling the second guy, "Hey, when your buddy gets shot, just pick up his gun and keep running." It is a tactical nightmare. They are getting absolutely clobbered by the Germans at places like Tannenberg. The casualties are insane. The morale is basically underground. So Tsar Nicholas II looks at this massive catastrophic failure and thinks, I know exactly how to fix this. I will personally take command of the military, which sounds brave, right? Except for the fact that his military experience is essentially wearing fancy medals and looking majestic on a horse. He has zero idea how to run a modern war. Therefore, every single terrible defeat from now on is blamed directly on him. Big mistake. Huge. And while Nicholas is busy playing general at the front, he leaves his wife, Tsarina Alexandra, in charge back in the capital. But she is heavily under the influence of a weird, smelly, wandering mystic named Grigory Rasputin. This guy claims he can heal their sick son, so he basically gets a VIP pass to run the entire government. He is firing competent ministers, hiring his absolutely terrible friends, and throwing wild, scandalous parties. The Russian nobles are absolutely furious. Therefore, they decide this Rasputin guy has to go. They invite him over for a nice late-night snack. They feed him cakes and wine laced with enough cyanide to kill a small rhinoceros. But absolutely nothing happens. He just eats the cakes, drinks the wine, and asks for more. The nobles are panicking in the corner. They finally pull out a gun and shoot him right in the chest. He falls down. They celebrate, but then he suddenly wakes up, strangles one of his assassins, and runs out into the snowy courtyard. They shoot him again. They beat him up. Finally, they tie him up and throw his body into a freezing, icy river. He eventually dies, probably from drowning, which is incredibly excessive but highly on brand for Russian history. And even with Rasputin gone, things in Russia keep getting exponentially worse. The citizens are waiting in massive lines just to get a tiny crust of bread. The army is actively mutinying against their commanders, and it is freezing cold. The people have entirely had enough. They start rioting in the streets of Petrograd, and Tsar Nicholas is officially forced to step down, ending hundreds of years of royal rule in a single afternoon. But the new provisional government looks at the flaming garbage pile of a war and decides, you know what, let us keep fighting for some reason. The Germans cannot believe their luck, but they are also getting impatient. They need Russia out of the game right now so they can focus on the West. Therefore, the German High Command comes up with the most devious biological weapon in modern history. They find a radical communist named Vladimir Lenin, who has been living in exile in Switzerland. They pack him into a sealed train car like a deadly virus and ship him straight back into Russia to cause maximum internal chaos. And the plan works flawlessly. Lenin arrives, starts a massive revolution, overthrows the new government, takes total power, and immediately signs a peace treaty with Germany. The Russian Empire has officially rage quit the server. So, let us recap the board. The Middle East is a complete disaster. Russia has entirely dropped out of the war. The Eastern Front is completely closed for business. This means Germany can now take millions of battle-hardened soldiers from the East, put them on trains, and smash them entirely into the Western Front. The exhausted French and British troops are staring down the barrel of a massive, unstoppable German spring offensive. Things are looking incredibly bleak for the Allies. Victory for the German Empire seems almost guaranteed at this point. But wait, what is that sound? Is that the distant sound of bald eagles and unchecked capitalism? Far across the Atlantic Ocean, a sleeping giant is suddenly waking up from his nap. And he is extremely annoyed, highly industrialized, and he is preparing to bring pump-action shotguns to a European trench fight. Listen to me very carefully. If you want to see how the United States casually strolls into the bloodiest war in human history just because of a leaked text message, you better smash that subscribe button and leave a like right now. Do it immediately, or I will personally draft you into the army and assign you to cleaning the latrines in a broken-down Mark I tank. I am not joking. Subscribe. Germany thinks they have won, Russia is gone, and the West is collapsing. But someone in Berlin is about to send the most disastrous text message in human history and wake up the United States. Hit the bell icon so you don't miss part 2, the Zimmerman telegram, and the toxic peace treaty.